Welcome to the Social University Podcast. We are so glad you're joining us today because we want to help business owners, entrepreneurs, and people just like you who want to build their business online. Listen, if we can do it, you can do it. So let's go.
What are some of the worst marketing mistakes that a small business can make? That is exactly what we're going to talk about today. There are so many to choose from. I tried to focus on just the ones that I think are the most impactful to your business. Thanks for joining us today. This is Karen Taradas with Social U. Don't forget to tune in next week when we talk about what to do with bad reviews, negative comments. We're going to cover that next week. But today, let's dig into basically 5 reasons you aren't meeting your marketing goals, 5 big mistakes. Number one, I think first and foremost, is not understanding your audience. You have to have a clear concept of who you are marketing to for it to be effective. You have to understand who your end user is and where they spend their time so that you can target more effectively for them. That includes having an avatar, a client avatar, understanding their habits, their hobbies, their age, their demographic. Are you marketing to married couples? Are you marketing to newly married couples? Which part of town are you marketing? What do they like to do in their free time? These are the kind of things that really help you target your audience and make a big difference. Plus, it helps you determine the best platforms to be on because you can't know where to target your messaging if you don't know who you're targeting to. Obviously, if you're trying to target folks who are looking for retirement benefits, that's Facebook. If you're looking for someone, new parents, that would be more Instagram. You have to know your overall target audience. Number 2 is not having a plan or a strategy, or even worse, having an outdated plan. If your plan includes faxing information, chances are it's outdated. You have to be able to step up and do what's trending right now. You have to be able to do what works right now. So you have to have a plan. You would not just get in your car and drive around and hope you find, the place you're trying to find. You would have a map, you'd have a plan. You need to know what your objectives are, and because it will help you reach those objectives. And of course, failing to stay up to date with any kind of trend, you have to know what's working right now. And you don't want to omit any of that stuff. Again, I'm not trying to be biased, but does print work like it used to? Does it? Is there a way to measure that? Is there? So you do want to do what's current. Number 3, inconsistency. And inconsistency covers just a plethora of sins. It can cover inconsistencies in messaging, inconsistencies in your focus, inconsistencies in your posting. You don't want to have big gaps on your any of your posting on your blog, on your website, on your social media. You want to be as consistent as possible because truly almost every single platform rewards consistency by letting more people see your content. You also want to have, again, that consistent messaging, which comes back to understanding your audience. You can't be all things to all people. It's okay to have multiple services, but your target's probably the same. So you do want to stay focused in that. Number 4, you not using social media. Again, that kind of circles back around to not staying up to date with current trends. I don't think social media is a trend. Obviously, we've been doing this for 15 years. But if you are not really seriously building your community, then you are missing the boat. And again, social media, the first word people forget, it's social. You have to be social. You have to build that community. I would rather have 100 followers who are very dedicated to you, who are brand ambassadors, who love what you do, than to have 1,000 people who aren't really sure who you are. You have to be consistent on social media. You have to have channels that reach the right audience, and you don't want to be too salesy. I see this as one of the most common mistakes. A lot of businesses will post, and it comes across very used car salesman-y. They push. It's always a push about what's for sale and buy this, this is what we're promoting. And that is not how you build a community. You wouldn't do that in a live networking situation. You don't want to do it in a digital networking situation. I feel like when you do that kind of thing, it's the same thing as walking up to someone that you've just met for the first time at a networking or a social and throwing a bunch of business cards in their face and running off. And that's just the wrong impression to leave. Connect first and sell later. Selling is secondary. If the person is comfortable with you and they recognize you and they understand your message and your business, when it's time, if you stay top of mind, they'll come to you for service. So don't be so salesy. Build the community first. And number 5, your website's dated or it's not optimized for mobile. Mobile websites are more and more critical. 10 years ago, it was kind of secondary. If it worked on your phone, it was fine. And if it didn't, that was fine too. That is not where we are now. If people are clicking through from your Facebook profile or from your Instagram profile and you're not optimized for mobile, they're done. They're out. You have just a few seconds to get their attention and try to keep it. So it has to be current and up to date. Your website has to be current and up to date. If it looks like you made it in 1987, people might assume that you're not in business anymore. It might not be user-friendly enough for them to understand what you want them to do. And a lot of these pieces are interconnected, because if you have the right messaging and you have the right marketing plan, your website will be up to date. But that's, again, one of the most common mistakes we see is a very confusing homepage. It's not just about splashing your information. It's about a very specific call to action and getting that audience where you want them to go, no matter where that is. And asking them to sign up for a newsletter is probably not going to get it done. You have to offer something to get something. You could think about it like a savings account. You invest in your customer by giving them free tools and free resources and information and answering their questions, like building up a savings account so that when it's time for you to make that sale, you've already built up this equity. You have to tell them what you need for them to do. And most homepages on most websites don't do that. There needs to be a very specific call to action, a very clear message on what you do, and then like a secondary call to action. So ideally, you are, again, all these pieces come together. So your messaging, your website, your mobile friendly, it's all pieces of the same puzzle so that they can come together and help promote your business. If you want to get more information on how to streamline your homepage of your website, I highly recommend Donald Miller's Story Brand. He says repeatedly, if you confuse, you lose. If people don't understand what you do in the first few seconds, they're done, they're out. So it's very critically important that your website be an effective messaging system, even when you're not around, to explain the pros and cons of what you do. People need to be able to go to the website and get that information. So those are our 5 worst mistakes in marketing, or why you're not reaching your marketing goals. Not understanding your audience. And again, they're very connected. Not understanding your audience, not having a clear plan of action, inconsistency in your plan, inconsistency in your social media, or having outdated information on your website, or not being mobile friendly. That's all, again, pieces of the same puzzle, and that's something you want to take a look at. If you are interested, we do offer a total online presence audit. If that's something that you're interested in, please contact us. We are happy to go through it. We look at your online presence, your social media, your website, the whole thing, and we can give you information on what to improve and how to improve it and what's working for you. Again, next week, we're going to be talking more about, it's Halloween, so we like scary stuff this month, bad reviews or negative reviews. And then the last week of October, we're going to talk about this year's worst social media nightmares. We're going to talk about mistakes that other companies have made. And of course, I have to include some of the mistakes we've made ourselves, because we do make mistakes. Yeah, I will tell you if your baby's ugly. I jokingly say that phrase all the time. Nobody wants to hear their baby's ugly. Nobody wants you to tell them your website looks terrible and it's not helping you and it's costing you money. And yes, there's a nicer way to say that, and we will be diplomatic, but I would rather, as a business owner, have you tell me something is broken and not working so I can fix it and make money, than to have you pat me on the head and say it'll do. Absolutely not. I want to know what's going to make me the most money and get me the biggest ROI. So that's what we're here for. Thanks, you guys. Until next week, I'm Karen Taranis with Social U, and I'm here to help. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for the Social University podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media at Stay Social U. That's the letter U, and we will talk to you next week. Remember, you've got this.